Reader then. I actually thought it was a Kookaburra as well.
Lyon with a leg slip and a short leg bowling to Azhar Ali. Clips in through mid-wicket for a single, moving the score along to 229 for 2. Yeah, I know they used the Kookaburra pink ball here in the day-night test match back in 2016, but yes, watching that ball being passed from
It's not a Duke, is it?
No, I don't believe they use Dukes here. So there's the SG, which are used in India. Could be that.
Yeah, okay.
Here is. We'll get some research on that. Here's Lyon, now with a slip and a short leg bowls to Haris Sohail. He punches down to mid-off, but there is no single on offer. So Haris Sohail's occupied the crease for 31 balls, scoring just 3. To be fair, they've done the job. There's never been... At no stage today have they put the foot down, and why would they start now?
No, I agree. I think Lyon's been the pick of the bowlers. He's been hard to get away as well. Stark at the other end's got the ball to tailing reverse a bit. So, they're not trying to, they're just trying to save wickets. Because they know outside those two bowlers, they could probably, influence and put the foot down with the other guys. John Holland, maybe, and maybe Pete Sill.
Lyon's next delivery pushed into the cover, no run. He's back to the top of his mark. Going again at Harris around the wicket, delivers. Back on the crease, pushing to backward point. No run there either. So the Ringfield has more or less worked for Australia today. Would you say? I mean, it didn't look pretty at times. Let's be honest. Having men out in the first session, it's like if Nathan Lyon is attempting to bowl ugly at different periods, I think Tim Payne's willing to almost catch an ugly.
Well, the thing with it is, on a pitch like this, I don't think there's too much more you can do. I mean, you're not going to suddenly go 2 slips, 3 slips of catching gully when the ball's not even carrying through.
Lyon
You've got to put the field out.
Pushed into the covers, no run.
You've got to put the field out, and unfortunately, that's just the way the pitch is. You can't afford that attack in the field on a pitch like this. It's just nothing in it. But they've had about 3 or 4 catches around the bat consistently all day. So they've done their best, I think, the Australians.
Yeah, the in-out field. Can they get a third from it? A single here. That was a straighter delivery from Lyon. Haris Sohail turned it just in towards the mid-wicket region where there was a narrow gap. Moving Pakistan on to 230 for 2 at the end of the 81st over. Azhar Ali is 9. Haris Sohail his 4. Wisdom.com Test Match Cricket brought to you by Specsavers, the test experts. I'm going to leave you in the capable hands of Jeff Lemon, BJ, after a couple of words from you.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, so 81 overs completed, 9 overs left for the day. And the game's starting at 10 o'clock local time here. We'll go through to 5 p.m. And Mitchell Starc has bowled 2 overs in his spell. He may have one more up his sleeve. He's no wicket for 64 from 17. Desperately looking for a wicket, Mitchell Starc. He's been threatening all day. He's bowled really well. Ball just starting to tail back into the left-handed Haris Sohail. He's on 4 from 35 deliveries.
And the shade has engulfed him at last, Mitchell Starc. He's able to start in the shadow. And Brendan Julian, it's been short and sweet. He's making way for Bazid Khan as Mitchell Starc bowls full, and it's whipped away off the toes down to Nathan Lyon at fine leg for a single. So Haris Sohail is on 5. Azhar Ali on 9. Pakistan 231 for 2. And welcome back, Bazid Khan.
Yeah, it's been a really good session for Australia. They've dried up the runs after those couple of wickets off the openers. Ball is still reversing, so no sign of that new ball yet. And Nathan Lyon's tied up one end beautifully. All they need is a wicket here. If Pakistan get through this session and go to stumps at 2 down, they'd be very, very happy, and they'd be actually in a dominant position.
Mitchell Starc looking to stop that happening. Bowling around the wicket to Azhar Ali, driving back to the bowler. No run, so it would be a tremendous success if they can get their 2 wickets down. And what a day it would be for them.
Yeah, and the decision now for Tim Payne is whether he takes that new ball or not. Things are going well. Yes, they are. They've starved Pakistan of runs, yes. But it doesn't seem as this ball, although it's reversing, has this bite. It's not reversing at that pace where it can breach defences. So do you gamble on taking that new ball, or do you just stick with this old one? That is a big decision for Tim Payne.
Mitchell Starc striding in once again, left arm around. This one's just back of a length outside the off stump and left alone. I tend to think that bowled a bit too short, given that they are getting a bit of reverse as well, that they're not necessarily taking full advantage of that movement.
Yeah, but the thing is, the ball's so old, it's gone through for 80 overs, and it's a dry square. And if you look at the ball, we saw it on camera, where it was looking extremely old, so it's definitely not going to have that bite and that pace. So maybe they're afraid to pitch it up that further. It'll become easier for the batsman.
Starc bowling a little fuller this time, straight at the stumps, turned away directly to mid-wicket. There'll be no run. There is that risk, I suppose, that the fast bowlers are pretty well exhausted. So if you take the new ball now, maybe you waste it rather than giving them the night to rest up and come back fresh in the morning.
Yeah, but you would think that, okay, if you want to take the new ball, you take it for maybe 2-3 overs, and so that it's new again when you come back the next day. But he's carrying on with Mitchell Starc, and Mitchell Starc's bowled quite a lot of overs. This is 18th of the day in the heat, so I'm not too sure if the new ball is in his plans as yet.
You wouldn't think so, the way things are panning out. Starc bowling short, cut away by Azhar, and he's beaten Gully just about. It's half a hand on it, so they'll get through for a single. So Azhar into double figures, 232 for 2, the Pakistan score. And you would imagine, Peter Siddle looked cooked before when he finished his spell. Mitchell Starc's bowling now with another 8 overs to go, so you wouldn't imagine we'll see the new ball in either of their hands tonight.
Yeah, but the thing in these conditions is that there's windows of opportunity where you can get a couple of wickets, and I think it is now, because they've got Pakistan under a little bit of pressure. If Pakistan can ride this, I think they're well on their way to a big total.
Starc back over the wicket for Haris Sohail, the left-hander, who's driving down towards mid-on, and Siddle quickly across to field, so no run to close the over. We've had 82 of them, 232 for 2 the score, and a fair bit of movement out there as the substitutes are coming out to help the Pakistani batsmen with a couple of things. The umpires are going over to keep an eye on that. The Australians are swapping bits of equipment and talking amongst themselves, so it's a busy hive of activity out there in the middle. You're on Wisden.com. Test cricket. Pakistan won the toss and elected to bat this morning. A double-century opening partnership set them on their way. A couple of wickets and a real drying up of the run rate since tea has seen Australia haul them back to 232 for 2.
Yeah, and Nathan Lyons bowled 32 overs for the day. He's coming in for his 33rd over. Just a 1 wicket. I think he's done the job that Australia expected from him. He's tied up one end. And just to top off the day, he'd be desperate for another wicket, because, again, he's in that groove, bowling very tight.
He's bowling over the wicket, a lot of flight. He's been very happy to toss the ball up today and driven away for a couple of runs. They'll get back for a second. It was square driven, really, just behind point. So a couple more for Azhar Ali. It goes on to 12. And a bit of flourish in that shot later in the day. He's been very defensive earlier in his innings, but starting to open up just a touch.
Yeah, but Pakistan have sort of needed that, because Australians are bowling really well.
Lyon, outside the off stump, just back of a length, striding forward, defending, no run.
And Azhar Ali's made sure that there hasn't been another wicket going down, or there hasn't been a flutter, as both the openers went, and then now these two just consolidating, making sure they bat through the day.
Lyon, full, turning in towards middle stump, turned away to the short leg fieldsman, Marnus Labuschagne under the helmet, short leg specialist. So again, no score. They'd be happy just to bat out the day, really, and come back 2 down tomorrow with Australia in the heat and really start to put the work on Australia's bowlers once again, see if they can really break them after a tough first day. Lyon targeting the stumps, defending is Azhar Ali, just coming across that ball a little bit, defending it to the onside.
Yeah, but again, I'm repeating myself that ideally when you apply this much pressure, you need a wicket to top it off.
Lyon hoping for that wicket. Drifts a little bit fuller that time, and Azhar Ali puts a little bit more work into the drive, less defensive, a bit more flourish, but again drives it to the onside straight to a fieldsman. This time it was Mitchell Starc standing well back at mid-on who stopped that ball. Lyon in again, quickly, burning through the overs, targeting the pads and the stumps relentlessly at this stage of the innings. Just wants something to pop up or sneak through. It doesn't happen this time. The ball's driven to a short, straight mid-wicket, and there is no run to end the 83rd over. 234 for 2. Sohail Khan 5. Haris Sohail, I beg your pardon. And Azhar Ali 12.
Azhar's a very underrated test match batsman. He scored all around. He scored runs in Australia, got a double 100 in Australia, and he adapts to conditions well. He started off as a leg spinner and then developed into a batsman, and from that he's just progressed as a batsman as he's kept on improving with age. He's been able to get runs everywhere, and he's able to tweak his technique so that he is successful at the top of the order. But his greatest asset is his patience. He's just 12 of 67 balls, but he'll never get frustrated. He'll be able to ride these passages of play and then make it count when things get easier for him, or he gets used to the conditions of the pitch and the ball and the opposition.
Mitchell Starc starting a new over, left arm over the wicket to Haris Sohail, defending down towards mid-off. Yeah, it's an interesting point you make. He made that double 100 in Melbourne where it's quite a slow wicket, it requires patience, and there were also a lot of rain breaks during that innings. He kept having to go off the field, come back on and reset. It was very gloomy, the light was bad, and he somehow just managed to keep his concentration over the course of a couple of days and build that innings here. 205 not out. He made in Melbourne pretty slowly, a strike rate of close to 50. So that was an impressive innings on that outing, that tour of Australia, which was a tough tour for the Pakistan team. Starc bowling down the leg side, and Tim Payne leaping across manages to save any possible extras with an outstretched glove. Excellent wicket keeping from him. But of course Azhar Ali also made a triple 100 on this ground against the West Indies. That was a day-night game, wasn't it?
Yeah, a day-night game, and he opened the innings and then batted so well throughout that whole innings. And the powers of concentration and his patience, that's his real asset. The rest he develops, he adapts, but never does he throw his wicket away, or never does he get frustrated not getting runs.
Starc to Sohail, very wide of the off stump, able to leave that one alone. A waste of effort for the fast bowler, who'll be annoyed at himself every time he has to run in, put in that effort in the heat. If he doesn't land it where he wants, it's all been for nothing. So, Azhar Ali's just able to settle in for those long occupations, as you say, and 14 Test hundreds is the record of an excellent player.
Yeah, brilliant player. Sometimes I just feel that when we talk about the openers or number threes nowadays, we don't mention his name enough in world cricket.
Starc to Sohail, full ball, and has him stumbling a little bit as he comes forward to dig that out of the block hole. There's no run. Starc puffing hard as he walks back to his mark. They've got the whole ground in shade now, so that's at least something with the sun going down, but it's still so hot outside that the humidity, it's very close around you. There's no escape.
No escape at all, and he's steaming in for your 19th over, and he's bowled at good pace. It's not as if his pace has dropped. He's bowled sort of upper 80s and almost 90s all the time. Just the state of the ball is such that it's not zipping through. The state of the pitch is such as well.
Starc targeting the stumps again. He's looking for those Yorkers, just hoping to find a little bit of bend on the ball, get something through, hit the boot or hit the pads, and still bowling at 143 kilometres an hour this late in the day. He's been very impressive. He's carrying the workload of the pace battery on his own. Patrick Cummins missing, Josh Hazlewood missing. Those two bowled so well with him during the Ashes last summer, and Starc was impressive again in South Africa, Cummins as well. And Hazlewood probably started to tire a bit towards the end of that South Africa series, but after 9 tests on the trot, you can understand that. Mitchell Starc, ball in hand. coming in from the Emirates Road end here in Dubai. Bowling back of a length outside the off stump, and Sohail is able to shoulder arms and watch that sail through. So it's been not as difficult as it should have been perhaps in that over. A few misdirected deliveries, and late in the day you can understand why, but good pace. 84 overs gone, 234 for 2. You're on wisdom.com. Test cricket. My name's Jeff Lemon. Bazid Khan is alongside me. And this is very close to being an excellent day for Pakistan if they can negotiate these last 6 overs.
Very much so, and probably the last throw of the dice as Bob Holland comes on. He's not had the best of days. He had a few overs where he looked a little better settled, but the Pakistani batsmen have got after him more than they've got after Nathan Lyon. They respect the threat of Nathan Lyon being the top spinner, but a wicket late in the day can change it all.
There's a bit of time travel there if we were going back to Bob Holland, but we're going a long way back.
Late in the day.
John Holland is
late in the day.
The newer iteration of the Dutchie that we've got. I would love to see Bob Holland get another test. Roll him out.
Yeah, maybe spin a couple viciously.
He was a leg spinner, wasn't he?
Yeah.
So we could have used one of those in the Australian team to liven things up a bit. But it's all finger spin. It's left arm unorthodox. Or left arm orthodox. As John Holland comes in to bowl around the wicket to Azhar Ali, defended back to him, no run.
Yeah, decent start from John Holland.
He's not had an easy day. I think he was just nervous in the first innings. He started off bowling down leg side, a full toss that was smashed away for 4, and a few pretty loose deliveries, and suddenly the pressure was on, and he only bowled half a dozen overs and got dragged. He's trying a bit of flight this time, and Azhar is defending. So then Holland sort of went into his shell and bowled quite flat in the second session, but now he's tossing the ball up again. So trying to rediscover that mojo. He's about to unleash again, and Azhar is down the wicket and smashing him down the ground for 4. Well, they obviously have a plan to target John Holland, unsettle him, and try to damage that 4th wheel of the Australian attack, just to unbalance and unsettle all the rest, because they've come after him 3 balls into the over, and Azhar Ali has skipped down. He's not necessarily a super aggressive player most of the time, but down the wicket, got to the pitch nicely and lifted that away very straight down the ground for 4. So 238 for 2. Azhar onto 16. He's awaiting for Holland and defending this with a forward lunge. No run.
Yeah, the intent is clear. They know that Nathan Lyon is the threat. Once they pat him out, they can put pressure on the rest of the attack, and we saw that coming down the track and lifting him.
Holland bowling at the leg stump, turned away by Azhar to mid-wicket, no run.
So, this is good cricket from Pakistan, though. Out of nowhere, Azhar Ali had been very, very quiet. Suddenly, as the left-arm spinner approaches, he smashes him down the ground.
Holland in at off stump, and just having to do a bit of quick footwork was Azhar, just to cover his off stump and make sure that ball wasn't going to sneak through onto the woodwork. It surprised him with just a bit of turn, I think, just to sort of straightened down the line when he was expecting it to come on a bit straighter. So a late adjustment, he was able to make it. 85 overs gone, 238 for 2. And what does that do to you as a side? It's interesting that by targeting just one bowler, you can throw out the balance of a whole bowling attack.
Yeah, I think in their team talks, they might have discussed this. Look, Stark and Mitchell Stark and Nathan Lyon are the threats, and they must have a little plan that, okay, whenever we can, we'll get after somebody who's not that experienced as John Holland, or if they bring on somebody like a part-time, and now the first time we're seeing Mitch Marsh into the attack. So that's an interesting move. We were calling for this. I was calling for this much earlier. But 86th over, they've gone to Mitchell Marsh. So there's no... I don't know if there's a fitness issue, but I would have thought he'd bowled much earlier.
You and Brendan Julian have both been furious about this today. I can tell you what, you've both been blowing up in the co-commentator's chair, because he can bowl reverse. When the ball was reversing earlier, they were bowling the spinner at one end. Yeah. You know, why not give him a go? So we assumed, well, he must be injured, but obviously now he's not injured because he's about to take up the attack. So they've got 5 overs left in the day. Maybe he'll bowl 3 of them. But here he comes, Mitchell Marsh, around the wicket to Haris Sohail, and he's bowling very full and very straight and being glanced down to fine leg for a single to start things off. So he may not mind that. He may prefer to bowl at a right-hander and see if he can just wobble one a little bit, but I don't know if the ball's reversing anymore at 86 in its 86th over.
Yeah, if he gets a wicket here, then there'll be even more questions about why he didn't bowl. But he's ideal for reverse swing. He's got that action. He does bowl it very full, gets the ball to tail late, and then at one stage where it was reversing quite a lot, it was Stark and then Siddle got the ball to reverse a lot, and I thought that he was the ideal man to go to after them, but they never turned to him at all.
That really seemed to be the time, around about the 70th over when the ball was tailing. Maybe just a bit late now as he's bowled short at the hip of Azhar Ali, who works him for a single easily enough down towards long legs. So 240 for the loss of 2. And Azhar on 17, Sohail on 6. They're just building away. But Mitchell Marsh, also curious as to why these Australian players choose to shave their heads before a series in the UAE. I'd be keeping as much thatch on top of the noggin as possible, but maybe they figure they're wearing the hats. But if you're bowling, you've got the full sun coming down. Keep the locks in play. They're a very good sun deterrent. Round the wicket, very wide on the crease, bowling into Haris Sohail, a left-hander, and again bowling very straight and able to be worked off the pads for a single.
Wasn't that the interesting story about Chris Lewis when he shaved his head and got heat stroke in the West Indies? Something like that.
You're remembering correctly. Yeah, it just seems like a dangerous thing to do. You know, suddenly it's like sitting in a car on a hot day. You know, you cook an egg on the roof. Keep the roof covered. 241 for 2. Sohail on 7. Azhar on strike now. Waiting for Mitchell Marsh. Back over the wicket to the right-hander. Full in at the pads. Defended to, one of the 2 short catching mid-wickets. So Mitchell Marsh doing exactly what he's paid to do. Just bowl at the stumps. Keep it straight.
And just before the Asia Cup, a lot of Pakistani players got sponsored. And they shaved their heads, they shaved their goatees, and the Asia Cup didn't go well, so people started blaming them.
Full in at the pads, and again worked away down to fine leg by Azhar, so they're able to milk Mitchell Marsh pretty easily, given the line that he's using to try to attack them, bowling at the stumps. So a few singles in the over. 242 for 2 is the score. Azhar on 18, Sohail on 7. We've got 4 overs to come in the day's play. Pakistan winning the toss this morning and batting, and it's been pretty much all in their favour since, although they've had to battle a bit harder in the third session than the first 2. But Mitchell Marsh, 1 ball to go in this over. He's coming around the wicket and he's bowling to Haris Sohail, who is doing exactly as I'd suggested previously and working a single, this time opening the face though and running it to third man rather than working it off the pads. So 2-4-3 for 2 at the end of the 86th with Sohail on 8.
Yeah, it's been a happy day for Pakistan, just 2 wickets down, and it'll be interesting how Australia pull up tomorrow. It's been a long day, fast bowlers bowling a lot, even Nathan Lying a long spell in the heat, and yes, they're prepared well, but once you bowl and stay in the field for so long, it's the next day that is really telling. If they don't get off to a start where they get a couple of wickets straight away, it can go from bad to worse very, very quickly.
Yeah, well, the part-timers have only bowled 3 of the overs, of the 86 overs to be bowled, so it's a big workload for the frontline bowlers, especially for Stark to bowl 19 in the heat. They're only 2 wickets down. You know, you could double that amount potentially by the end of the end of the innings. So it probably hasn't been ideal in terms of the workload that's been demanded of the frontline bowlers, but that's the value of having such a strong opening partnership, is you really put that pressure on the opposition. John Holland to continue from the Dubai Sports City end, and Sohail's going back on his stumps, working the ball away to square leg, coming through for a single. 244 for 2.
And that little intense spell when these two, Haris Sohail and Azhar Ali, were new at the crease, and Mitchell Starc, Nathan Lyon, Peter Siddle were bowling well, they sort of got through that.
Yeah. Holland flighting the ball, bit of turn outside the off stump as it's left. It feels like that moment has passed, doesn't it? That intensity. It was here for a minute. We were all switched on and glued to the action for a minute, and now things have subsided just a bit. So 2 short catching covers for Azhar Ali, facing Holland. Flight, loop, dip, dropping on the off stump, defended on the forward stride to one of those short cover fieldsmen. Also a slip. They're the main threats as far as catching goes.
And although nothing much happened in that little session,
Holland flighted and dug out to short cover, no run.
It may well be the defining session of the innings, because it could have been a couple of wickets down and Australia back in it, but that was just blunted.
Holland outside off and lashed away by Azhar Ali down to mid-off. Has he been caught? He's out! John Holland has taken a wicket in the most unexpected fashion, and Azhar Ali has thrown it away, the most unexpected batsman to do so. The one in the Pakistan team who can drop anchor and bat through a couple of days. He only had 3 more overs to get through, to get to stumps, and he's decided to take the attack to Holland, and it has brought him undone. Pakistan have targeted Australia's left-arm spinner today, and now it has brought them pain. Wicket goes down 244 for 3 now, and John Holland rejoices as Mitchell Starc at mid-off lunged forward and took that catch. Azhar Ali looking to bomb that down the ground for another 4, and just didn't really get to the pitch of the ball, didn't make good contact, and it skewed away rather than launching away. He is dismissed. He's trudging his way off the field now. And he's gone for 18. He faced 80 deliveries for those 18 runs, but then threw it away at the end, Fazid.
Just as we thought, we said that the moment had passed. It was not looking as if Australia would get a wicket, and against the run of play, Azhar Ali tries to loft Holland over mid-off and finds the fielder. That's a big wicket. Right at the back end of the day's play, he gets out. It's the 3rd wicket down. Night watchman, Abbas, he comes to the crease. If Australia now, they pick up another one and they'll go into the dressing room happy with 4 wickets down, and they'll almost say that it's the day's honours being shared. 244 for 3.
Strange decision, really, to use a night watchman from such a strong position as well. It seems a very defensive move when there's not a great deal of threat out there. Surely, I think it was Babar Azam listed to come in next. Surely he could come in and face a couple of overs of spin.
Yeah, interesting decision. It's always left to the batsman, really, if he wants one or not, and maybe it's just his call. But imagine if the night watchman comes out and gets out first. He's got a pretty decent defence, though, in all fairness, does Abbas.
He's going to employ it now. He's facing Holland, defending, looking to come forward, and then hung back on the back foot almost, and punches the ball out towards point and actually gets through for a run. So he'll take a single, and he'll not just protect Babar Azam, but he'll try to protect Haris Sohail as well. It's the end of the over, 245 for 3, and Australia in disbelief, really. I mean, that was just a bonus. That was like you've had a nice night at the restaurant and you leave a good tip on the way out. Okay, you guys thanks for the bowling today. You can have 1 more wicket at the end of the day.
And just the conversation that we were having, we were saying everything's all right now. Everything's the difficult part of the innings has passed, and it might be the defining moment of what do we know? We know nothing. Absolutely nothing, because Azhar Ali just hits it to mid-off and goes for 18, and in Australia just sensing that they're back in it. Maybe Starc can nick one out here, and that might be the defining moment of the game.
Well, also curious as to whether they'll take the new ball at this point. 3 overs to go, and there might be a bit more temptation to do it with a new man and a tail ender at the crease. Sure, he might have a good defence, but if you can test him out with 2 overs from Starc, 3 to go in the day's play, it might be the opportunity to get rid of the night watchman and bring in the batsman who wanted one in the first place.
Yeah, and that'll be more pressure on the batsman coming after the night watchman, having seen his night watchman fail.
Mitchell Starc ready to take up that challenge to Mohammad Abbas. He's on 1 from 1, strike rate of 100. He's flying, and he's sparring outside the off stump and missing as that ball goes through to Payne, and a groan from Bazid Khan beside me.
Yeah, just the ball angling away, almost nicked it, almost the 4th wicket down, and, well, it's time for me to sign off, and hopefully Pakistan can just bat through these overs, because it'll be very interesting if Abbas does get out.
Thank you, Bazid Khan, and lovely to have your company with us today. Former Pakistani Test and One-Day International player. It's great to get his insights. Around the wicket to Abbas, outside the off stump, left alone, and through to the wicket keeper. That's all he needs to do, Abbas, is leave those ones alone. But, yes, Starkers.
So Mitchell Stark's toiled hard today for 19.1 overs, none for 66. He's had 4 maidens along the way. Stark still operating with 1 slip, which will soon become 2 slips. Harris Sohail is up the non-striker's end. Mohamed Abbas, who is not known for holding the stick, it's fair to say, far from it. He's off the mark with a single, but I'm certain that Stark will fancy his chances of picking up a 4th wicket here. They certainly have the time. Stark charging in past umpire Kettleborough, but that's a wasted delivery. It's fast, and it's swinging away from the right-hander, but well outside the off-stump. So 2, 4, 5 for 3 is the score on Wisden.com Test Cricket. All day we've been supported by Specsavers, the test experts. Earlier on, the first session was brought to you by Cbus, and of course all day long as well, ProAtar, the new coaching app that brings you together with some of the greatest names in the game. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon taking you through to the close, which will come in 2.3 overs from here. Stark just composes himself at the top of his mark. Mohamed Abbas, certainly not a man who's renowned for his batting. I'm surprised they've used him as night watchman. His stats do not paint a pretty picture.
He has a sound defence, says Bazid Khan.
Well, we've not seen that much on the international stage. Stark to... big shot for leg before wicket! It's been turned down, as has the ball, incidentally, down to the rope for 4 off the pads. Umpire Kettleborough didn't fancy the appeal, but Stark certainly did.
Yeah.
Looks like it did plenty, Jeff.
The ball, where it ended up, tends to tell you that it was probably missing leg stump. You know, that extra bit of slide down the leg side as it goes for 4-leg byes. Fair bit of angle on it. Yeah, that's nowhere near it. Indeed, I think he was unlucky not to be given runs there. The second time today 4-leg byes have been called, well, I think there was some wood on it. We've seen this one before as well, Jeff. I recall late at Durban in the first test match of that series between Australia and South Africa, where Mitchell Stark to Mohamed Abbas, beating him outside the off-stump. He might have just withdrawn the bat at the last moment, but either way, Stark will feel right in this. He's got one more opportunity at him in this over, and he'll surely bowl the 90th as well. It'll be enough to give him a little sort of cortisone injection, won't it, from the brain to think, I could do it here. He wouldn't necessarily want another over every spell that he's bowled today, but this one he will. Absolutely. Mohamed Abbas has 1 ball to survive in this Mitchell Stark over before Harris Sohail will presumably do the spade work against the spin from the Dubai Sports City end. Stark, last ball of the over, wide of the crease, bowls through Abbas. It kept low as well, perhaps. Stark's gone down. Stark has gone straight down. Cramping up. For a moment there, the way that he hobbled on his right foot, I thought, he's done something here. But no, they're all having a good old laugh, as you always do in sport. There's 2 things you can guarantee will provoke a laugh. Someone going down with cramp and someone being hit in the protector. Or better still, in the field with no protector on, as we saw when Alistair Cook had his troubles a couple of years ago at Cardiff. So they're just stretching out the leg. Even Stark's laughing as it's happening. So we did say Jeff will bowl the final over from the Emirates Road end, but that might just change things somewhat. Cause he'll want it. He'll want it. He wants it too badly. Because Abbas has to be on strike. It's his job. He's got to soak up the bowling. Yeah, it's an odd thing, the old night watchman, isn't it? I broadly support them. I think anything quirky in cricket should be embraced. But anything about our great game that is off the beaten track a bit, we should get behind. But yes, the choice of night watchman is not orthodox here. Well, it's also like the quirk that the lower order often outscores the top order. Our game is full of a lot of weird things, and we enjoy most of them.
So it's going to be John Holland bowling the last over from the Dubai Sports City end of the day. The first ball to Harris Sohail is turned just around the corner, but only as far as Usman Khawaja, no run there. Mitchell Starc doing some calisthenics. He's stretching out the calves. Holland again. Sohail used his feet straight back over his head. One bounce over the rope, I fancy, just beneath us here. Couldn't quite get a glimpse of where it bounced. I don't think umpire Illingworth did either, so you might have a look upstairs. Nathan Lyons saying 6, so I'm sure his spin partner will be fond of him for that. Goes, no, it was 6, mate, don't worry about that. Let's see it back. And it was clearly 6, well, 6 by 5 metres. So he's taken him downtown.
Well, that is interesting, particularly since Azhar Ali got out in exactly that fashion.
Not wrong. Holland again, they've moved mid off back. Sohail using the crease off the back foot, punching to extra cover, no run there. It remains 255 for 3, so that big strong blow down the ground brought up the Pakistan 250 in the penultimate over of the day, but also moved Harris Sohail into double figures. It's taken a long time. He's faced an awful lot of balls. On this occasion, he's blunting the spin of Holland into the onside, no run, short leg. Labuschagne does the tidying up. He did strike it well, didn't he? Holland at the top of his mark, bouncing in, goes again. Sohail in defence. Pushing into the onside, nothing there.
So they've got a very deliberate strategy of going after Holland. Imam Haq we saw defend a lot and then whack a couple of sixes when the mood struck. Azhar Ali played a couple of big shots after a lot of blocking.
Holland to Sohail defends, and that might be the end of his over. It is. So that's the end of John Holland for today. We'll do a call of the card at stumps and go through all the figures. So Mitchell Starc will get the last over, provided his yoga routine here at Deep Backward Square did the job. Pakistan 255 for 3 with 1 over to go. Harris Sohail 15. Mohammed Abbas 1. Adam Collins and Jeff Lemon with you here on the first day of Wisdom.com Test Cricket, brought to you by Specsavers, the test experts.
It's interesting that the strategy was so entrenched that even after Azhar got himself out trying to attack Holland, holding out to mid-off, Harris Sohail has decided, no, it needs to keep going even in the second last over of the day. I still need to whack this bugger for 6 if I get the chance.
Gee, I tell you what, Starc is going to bowl this over, but he's
sore.
He's gone into goes into Warrior 1, to use the yoga nomenclature, for about the 4th time either leg. So he's obviously feeling it.
Yeah, and he's puffing at the top of his mark. He's blowing his cheeks out, and he hasn't bowled the ball yet.
So, but what he does get to do is bowl at Pakistan's night watchman, and that will, as you said before, give him an extra bit of zest. On the way with 2 slips in a gully, and the leg gully too. Starc bowls round the wicket. Abbas defending well. Back to the bowler. So 5 balls to see off. If you've been with the coverage today, we thank you so much for your company. It's been a lot of fun with you here today. Hopefully we'll see something in the final 5 balls which justifies you staying all the way to the bitter end of what's been, dare I say it, an attritional day of cricket, Jeff. The old cliche.
Love that
Ring
word.
the jar.
Love that word. Yes, unfortunately we're lacking on cliche jar sound effects on this particular call. But we're also lacking on actual sound effects from the ground at the moment because the effects mark has died, but we'll do our best to rectify that overnight. So hopefully you'll have all of the muttering from the middle tomorrow.
Starc again to Abbas, who withdraws the bat at just the right moment. It was well outside the off stump. Starc grimaces at his Captain Payne as if to suggest that he's going to battle through these final 4 balls, but battle he will.
Captain Payne sounds like a great comic book character. Spider-Man, it is I who will defeat you, Captain Payne.
I just got to let you go when you do this, Jeff. We don't get to sit next to each other calling very often, but it's always worth it when we do. So yes, the effects mic you mentioned before, we didn't quite square the circle on that as I said we would, but we will by tomorrow morning. That was just an unavoidable technical issue which we had no control over, unfortunately. Starc around the wicket to Abbas, beating him outside the off stump. Hands on heads in the cordon. Starc again smiles. We may not have the effects mic operating, but we've had a very clear picture of what Mitchell Starc's thought all day, courtesy of his facial expressions.
Yes, he's a human billboard advertising his feelings.
Strong feels.
And you can invest, you can buy into Mitchell Starc's feelings. The way he projects them across the ground. Just a few late shreds of sunlight peeking through underneath the sail canopies now.
Yeah, it's a really lovely look towards dusk here at Dubai. We noticed it last night when we were setting up that it's a very nice place to play cricket. We've enjoyed our day today bringing it to you. Here's Mitchell Starc around the wicket at Bass. Again, beaten outside the off stump, although in saying that, he might have just brought the bat inside the line. Having said that again, Mitchell Starc is laughing, so he thinks he's beaten the bat for the second time on the spin.
He's also hobbling a bit back towards his mark. Might just trot in and bowl off breaks for the last couple of deliveries.
Oh no, Bass definitely followed that with his blade, watching the replay through. Still generating reverse, and he's sweating. Boy, is Mitchell Starc sweating. He's worked hard today into his 21st over of the 90 bowled. None for 66. He will bowl, again, as the cliche goes, he'll bowl worse for better figures. He'll bowl plenty worse for better figures.
Ring the cliche jar again.
It's that time of the afternoon, Jeffrey. Here comes Starc. 2 balls to go. In towards Mohammad Abbas. On the stumps on this occasion, defended to mid-off on. Starc's really not well. He's now reaching for his quad. I assume it's still cramped because umpire Kettleborough is now laughing at him.
Everybody's Starc's still laughing at himself.
Starc's pulled out, some of the juice. Now, he's having a drink, but now we know what this is, don't we? It's pickle juice.
Yep.
So some pickle juice between balls before the close to get through one more ball, one more shot of pickle juice.
One more.
On the dance
floor.
One more pickleback.
One more pickleback to get you through the last delivery.
Just one more. One more shot.
I can tell you that at some multi-day music festivals, the pickle juice is also very helpful to get you through a few difficult moments with dehydration. It contains valuable salts.
An extra slip in for the final ball of the day. Mitchell Starc at the top of his mark. Pakistan 255 for 3. The night watchman, Mohammad Abbas, on strike. Starc bowls down the leg side. Wasted last delivery. He hobbles down towards his captain. Umpire Kettleborough walks up to the stumps, flicks off the bails, and calls time on day 1. That's the end of Wisden Cricket on day 1 as well. Before I do the formalities, I'll let Jeff go. He's got to run down to the field and do a couple of the post-play interviews. Thank you, Jeff, for all your work today. We'll see you on the field, and make sure you follow the Twitter feed and the iTunes account to find those interviews later today. Catch you down there, Jeff.
Absolute pleasure having everyone along for the day, and we'll see you tomorrow.
I'll stick with you for the call of the card and so wrap up today's proceedings. So Pakistan won the toss and elected to bat this morning, and bat they did. They made 89 in the first session without losing a wicket. Imam Al-Haq and Mohammad Hafiz were outstanding. The former ended up falling for 76 in the final session. Indeed, they went through the entire second session without losing a wicket as well. They were 199 without loss after 61 overs when tea was taken. But the third session was very much Australia's, where they took 3 for 56. Initially, they picked up Imam, caught by Tim